Hello everyone, it is Teresa from Teresa's Spot for All Things Art, where I love sharing art from my heart. Today we're doing this painting. It is on a 9 by 12 canvas. I call it Lovebirds. And I'm going to show you how to create that unique background and then obviously paint the tree and the little birds in the heart. So first we're going to get started with the background, and I am using 4 home decor. Yeah, they're messy because I keep this little piece of wax paper on the top of my jars to keep the paint fresh and from building up around the cap. Little tip for you. So home decor, chalk paint. I'm using Nautical, Riverwalk, Cascade, and white. So I am going to get started on the background. So here we go. I changed cameras. Now we have an overhead view. Let me just change my angle a little bit. There we go. And we will get started. Okay, so I have put out my paint. This is white. You can't see it. There's a little bit of a glare there. But if you've noticed, when I use chalk paint and I use this scraper technique, now if you don't have these scrapers, you can use a credit card or a gift card, something that is thin and firm, okay? You can even use a spatula from your kitchen if you wanted to, as long as it's thin and firm. So when I pour my paint, and you can mostly see it with the blue and the Riverwalk, I pour it in a line as opposed to in a round puddle, and I'll show you why. So we want to take our scraper and we want to pick up both colors and get them on there. And I'm going to move this back and forth a little bit because I want it to cover the entire edge of the scraper. See that? So I have half Cascade, half white. And I'm going to start with the white and the Cascade. And then I'm going to just pick up a corner of the Riverwalk on the white side. See that? Then I'm going to take my scraper, I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to line it up with the edge, bend down at about a 45 degree, and start scraping. Okay? I'm going to go back up. I'm going to grab a little bit more. And I'm just going to start scraping down. All right, now I need to pick up a little bit more. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to keep my colors separate. I'm going to pick up the blue and the white, a little bit of corner in the Riverwalk. I'm going to start where I ended off, and I'm going to scrape down. Now I'm going to take it, and I'm going to keep my blue and my white in the same position, and I'm going to scrape up. Okay? You want the skips, you want the blending. See that? This will fix with the next row, so don't worry about it right now. All right. And I'm just going to keep moving across, picking up the blue and the white, getting a corner of the Riverwalk, keeping my blue and white in the same location. Now I'm going to move over here. I'm going to overlap slightly, and I'm going to get started, and I'm going to pull down. Now using a credit card would be a little messier, but it can be done. Again, blue and white, pick up a little bit of Riverwalk, move over a little bit, overlap, bend at a 45, and then scrape down. And when you get to the bottom, you want to keep your blue and your white. You just want to flip it up and scrape up. And scrape up, and scrape up. Now, you are never going to get the same look twice. And that's just how it is. You couldn't possibly. And that's okay. Hand-painted art, we're not machines. It's never exactly the same. So again, I'm going to be off the page a little bit. I'm going to make a mess, but I want to overlap. I'm going to go at a 45. And I'm going to pull down. And then I'm going to flip and pull up. I'm going to get a little bit of the brown there. Okay? So even though I'm going back over it, I'm still keeping the colors where I had them. If you get a little bit too much on the ends, you can get rid of it, or you can go down here and scrape it up like I am and add it to your canvas. The same thing for up here. And I'm using a canvas board right now, as opposed to a stretched canvas panel. As opposed to a stretched canvas. So you can use whatever you want. It's totally up to you. Okay. Now, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pick up the tiniest bit of this dark blue, and I'm just tapping this in here. I just want the tiniest bit, and we save the dark for last because the dark can be very overpowering. So I'm just going to come up here. It's got the slightest bit on there, and I'm just going to lay it down, and I'm going to start scraping in and up a little bit of this dark blue. Again, I just want to tap it. I'm going to come up here, and you can add as much of this dark blue as you want, or as little of it as you want. You can mix and match colors. You can use this background for a completely different painting than the one I'm going to show you with the lovebirds. This background is very, very versatile, and this technique is very versatile. Let me get a little bit more. Tap, tap, tap. Come over here. Pull down. And pull up. So, and there is our, put this aside here a little bit, our background. We change you guys around, and here we go. Now I'm going to let this completely dry before I move on to the next step of tracing on my background, and getting to painting, okay? But for the sake of the video, you would want to hit pause now. So, now that your background has become completely dry to the touch, we're going to trace on our design. In your art kit, you would have a tracer. Mine looks a little different than yours, but it's a tracer nonetheless, and I'm going to show you how we do it, okay? So let me change my camera angle again. There we go. So this is my tracer. I'm going to pull it down a little bit so I think my tracer is a little bit bigger than this canvas. So I'm trying to get it in the middle. You know what I'll do? I'm going to fold it. Find the middle, and then find about the middle on my board, which is right about here. And then it's on up there, and it's on down here. Okay. I want it nice and straight. So I'm going to fold this under, and I'm going to put a little piece of tape on here just to hold it down. Okay. And then what I do, I take a piece of graphite paper, tracing paper, shiny side down, and I slip it right in between my tracer and my canvas. All the way down to the bottom, and then smooth everything out. And there you go. There are other ways to trace. If you go in my free group, Teresa's Spot for Free Art, you will see that I have shown other ways to get your design onto your background besides using this tracing paper. Now I'm just following the curls, okay? Look, see how nice that's going on there? When I go back in to paint them, they don't have to be double lined. I just need a guide of where they go. And then the size of my brush will determine the thickness of my swirls. This could even be hand drawn on if you chose to do that. If I wasn't showing you guys how, I might just hand draw on the swirlies. Let me make sure what I got. This one I missed. And then I'll show you guys another little trick. I'm going to do the birds in here. When I do elements such as these leaves, or when I do the birds, or if I were to do something else like apples or whatever, I always trace them smaller. Because an element, especially for beginners, if you're trying to fix it or get the shape just right, or you don't like it, so you're adding a little bit more paint to it, your element will grow and grow and grow. It's just natural. And you'll start out with, you know, you want your eye, hard to say, you want your eye to be, you know, this big on your snowman, your bird, whatever. And as you start painting it and you want to fix it, and you're adding and you're adding and you're adding, next thing you know, your eye is this big. So when I trace these elements, now I lost my place, I do them smaller than what they actually are. So when I go to paint them on, I don't care if they grow because I painted them smaller to begin with. I'm just going back in here. I'm going to make sure that I have everything I need. So I'm going to put the nest in here a little smaller, and then the bird in here a little smaller. And that just means I follow the outline, but I just make it tinier. There's a little clef, and then it's a musical note. I don't know why they have it in here. And then I traced my heart, and you can see I have everything on there that I need, I believe. Okay? So let's put this aside. And we're just going to get started with our black. And like I said, depending on the size of your brush and the kind of brush you use, that will determine, and I'm going to use a round brush, that will determine the thickness of your swirls. So I'm picking up this round brush, and you can use a liner brush, you can use a flat brush on the chisel edge, and when I say use a flat brush on the chisel edge, I mean, this is a flat brush, this is the chisel edge, and you would use it, let me get a different one. Here's a flat brush, here's the chisel edge. You would use it upright on the chisel edge to put your paint. But for this particular design, I'm going to use this round brush. And the more pressure you add, the thicker your line is. So if you want your line thinner, use less pressure. If you want your line thicker, use thicker pressure. And I'm starting out with these swirlies, and that's exactly why I only traced it. I didn't trace both sides to get the thickness, because again, these will grow too as you paint. I could start with the tree trunk, but I think it's more fun to start with the swirlies. And if you notice, now I'm coming back around. I don't do the swirl in one complete stroke like you would if you were using a pen or a pencil or a crayon. I do halfway and then the other halfway. And if I paint too fast for you, that is the beauty of having a video, because you can just hit pause whenever you want and then hit play when you've caught up. Now this inner one in here, I'm going to make a little bit, well, it's going to be filled in, but this little one here, I want it to be a little bit more narrow. Down here, it's going to be filled in. And here is the base of my tree. So I love sharing art from my heart. I've been painting for over 15 years. You can find my YouTube channel. It's Teresa's Spot for all things art. And there's quite a few free videos on there. And then it is where I house, store, however you want to say, my paid videos that I share with all you when you guys purchase one of my kits like this Lovebird one. And I'm just using the tip of the round brush. If you want to get a feel for the pressure, I suggest that you get out some scrap paper and practice a lot of pressure and a little bit of pressure using this brush or whatever brush you're going to use, because we're all different. I used to be extremely heavy-handed when I painted, and now I've gotten, you know, more of a feel for how the brushes work and how much pressure I need to apply to each brush in order to get the look that I'm going for. And like I said, don't try and do the whole swirl without lifting your brush. Brushes aren't not meant to go that way. So you're going to want to do the swirls in at least 2 to 3 strokes. Okay, so I'm going to put that one aside. I'm going to go to my flat brush and I'm going to start painting in my tree trunk. You shouldn't need 2 coats. The black gives really good coverage. I prefer using deco art paint or folk art plaid paint, multi-surface paints, but it's up to you. I just like to share art from my heart. I'm not looking to have my students make a huge investment. We're just here to learn some techniques and enjoy painting. I'm gonna get this brush because up in here we have to make this look like they attach. So I made the bottom part of the swirl a little bit thicker to go into the tree trunk. Okay? Fix that one a little bit. Okay, now we're going to go in and we're going to add our leaves. And our leaves are all different sizes, but they're easy enough to do. So I'm just going to do it like a C, a half a C or half a stroke, and then a comma stroke. So that's it. One way, the other way, and fill it in. And I want to keep cleaning up my brush. So we're going to make a C, but not a really fat C. And come like that. I have too much paint built up on my brush, so I'm just going to wipe it off with this paper towel. I'm going to pick up some more paint. You want to keep your brush looking nice. You want it to be nice, and basically you don't want it to have crazy hair. You want it to be all together. I do have one little hair sticking out. I don't know why. Let's get that fixed. There we go. Okay, and that's it. I'm just making a little bit of a C and a little bit of a comma, and then I'm filling it in. And I'm saving my heart and my birds for last because I like to work with one color at a time if I can. Look how simple these leaves are. And it's nice that it's a silhouette. We're just working with the one color for the background of the tree and the leaves. If you have not been to my website and you bought this kit from someplace else, go to my website, the Silhouette Spot, and there are many other kits for adults and children. My kits either come with step-by-step written instructions or a video. So if you prefer visual learning, you can look for my kits that all come with a video. If you prefer to just read the step-by-step instructions and save a few bucks, those kits are available as well. Okay. Now I'm going to get rid of that brush, put it in water, and the first thing I'm going to do, well, the second thing now, since I did all the black, I'm going to pick out a different brush, a smaller brush. And I have a little bit of red out. I like to use a dark red, but you could use any red you like. Oftentimes red needs 2 coats. It happens to be a very translucent color. And I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to do the heart. And you can use whatever brush you're comfy with doing this. And then fill it in. And you guys will hear me if you've watched me on my Facebook page or if you've watched me in another video. You will always hear me say, it does not have to be perfect. Nope. It does not have to be perfect. It could never be perfect. It will never be. Hand-painted items can never be exactly the same. We're not a machine. And we just do the best we can. And you may say yours doesn't look like mine. Yours is not supposed to look like mine. Yours is supposed to look like yours. So I'm going to rinse my brush off really, really well. Get all that red paint out. I'm going to take it and I'm going to squeeze it in my paper towel to get it nice and dry. Now this here, I'm going to explain something. This is a number 8 brush, but this is also a Playhead paintbrush. Paintbrush sizes, paintbrush numbers are not the same universally. So you just want to have a brush that you're comfortable with. This is about a 1/4 inch wide and it's a flat brush. I do most of my painting in flat brushes. If you want a smaller brush, you can. The only difference is the smaller the brush, if you're working on a bigger area, it will give you more brush strokes. So you kind of want the brush to fit what you're painting. But you also want to feel successful and use a brush that you're comfortable with. So I make suggestions on what brushes to use. I make suggestions on what color paints to use. And those will all be in the kit. But like I said, they are just suggestions. And the white will need a second coat because it's going over this blue and beige and dark blue background. The way my bird is shaken out here, you're not going to see his beak because the bird has a lot of white. This one anyway, has a lot of white behind it. This one you'll see the beak too. But that's okay. Your bird might have laid out a little bit different, and so you won't have a lot of white in your background. Totally okay. So now I'm going to pick up my liner brush, and without putting my hand in the paint, I'm going to put in this little tiny nest here that one of the birds is sitting in. Okay, I'm going to let that dry. And then we're going to connect the heart. And again, even though I'm using this little tiny brush, remember you can't do swirls with one stroke. You have to mix it up. Oh, I put my hand in the paint? Don't worry. I'll get that off later. Not going to worry about that. So this is what we have so far. Let me turn you guys around. This is what we have. We did all our black background. And if you're not to this point, go right ahead and hit pause and come back. And you'll see how I'm going to finish this up with all the white detail. Okay, so I'm going to get my liner brush again. So basically you can do this whole painting, I'll show you, with 3 brushes. I chose to use a round brush when I did my swirls, but you don't have to. So you basically need this liner brush, this little flat brush, and a wider flat brush and or a round brush if you choose. But really, you can do this entire painting with a liner brush and a small flat brush. And now I'm going to use my liner brush. Put those in the water and come over here. I need a little bit more white paint. I think I'm going to go over my heart again too. And how simple. 2 brushes and 3 color paints. You can't get simpler than that, right? So again, you want to use light strokes. And if you need to practice doing light strokes on some scrap paper, go right ahead. And I'm just adding a little bit of white to each of my swirls. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to fill the whole thing. Some can be thicker. Some can be thinner. Some go all the way to the end. Some don't. Some have more coverage because the black was thinner to begin with. And it's all okay. And I'm just going in and I'm adding a little bit of white. See over there, I hopped out over the black a little bit. That's okay. It's all good. And I'm just going in and adding a little bit of white highlight to each of my swirls. Come around, come back in here, pick up and come around. So now I've done the tree. And now I'm going to add a little bit of highlight to each leaf. And I'm doing this on the same side of every leaf. On this side, I'm going to go to the left. On this side, I did it all to the right. On this side, I'm going to add the highlight all to the left. And then I'm going to come in here. Let me add a second coat of red. And then I'll show you. Dry my brush. I like to give it a nice squeeze in the paper towel. Okay, I'm going to go over this one bird a little bit with my liner brush. Okay, then I'm going to put a little bit of highlight on the nest, and I'm going to put a little bit of highlight on the heart. And there you go. If you want to come down here and add some initials, you can. And there it is. Here we go. Here's our lovebirds painting. Very simple, 3 colors, 2 brushes. Well, 3 colors and 2 brushes for the design. If you use my background, that was 4 different chalk paints, but that is up to you because you can put this design on any background, and you can use this scrape background to put any design on. So remember, all my lessons and videos are for personal use only. Enjoy your painting, have fun, and if you want to see more, follow me it's in the comments, in the link down below. You can follow me, Teresa Spot for Free Art on Facebook, or Teresa Silhouette Spot for all things art. Thank you, and I'll see you again.